Hey everyone, welcome to Microsoft Ignite. My name is John Grushek. I'm a product manager for Microsoft Teams, and I specifically help manage anything security, privacy, and compliance related in Microsoft Teams. Prior to the role I am in now, I spent time in Microsoft 365 technical readiness, so anything under the Microsoft 365 umbrella. And then I also spent time in our consulting services, so working with our enterprise global customers on deploying anything from Windows, Azure, to Office. So some of you longtime Ignite fans might have seen me previously and attended some of my sessions, and I'm super excited to have you here joining me today. So today we're going to be talking about what's new in Teams security and compliance. So for today's agenda, we're going to start with leveraging the strength and intelligence of Microsoft 365 and why that really sets the framework for what we're about to discuss today in Microsoft Teams. Then we're going to dive into what's new in Teams security, compliance, and privacy. And then we're going to close it out with some of the more exciting things that we have coming in the next or in the end of the calendar year. So let's go ahead and dive into Microsoft 365 security and compliance and why it's important to understand these foundational pieces. So from a Microsoft 365 security approach, Microsoft has had a long time commitment to integrating security and compliance across our spectrum of platforms and products. And why this is so important is because you see on the slide, we have three principles that we talk about. Building these experiences across platforms, leveraging the AI and automation within these services to help you be more proactive and focus and get those smart insights to make intelligent decisions. And lastly, it's about that integration across people, devices, apps, and services, utilizing identity as that control plane so we can apply all those great security, compliance, and privacy principles throughout your portfolio of services, not just from Teams to Outlook to Exchange. And as we build out this slide, you get an understanding of, you see these 6 common principles or foundations of Microsoft 365 security and compliance. They range from identity and access management, so being able to control the identity and access to devices from things like multi-factor authentication and conditional access, to threat protection, so being able to defend against the most modern and intelligent cybersecurity threats in the world, making sure that those security features are already proactively working for your end users so they don't have to think about it. We range all the way to the far end of the spectrum when we talk about discover and respond and risk management. So being able to identify perhaps data leaks or sensitive information that shouldn't be leaving your organization, being able to quickly address those items and make sure that they don't get outside your organization. So these 6 areas you'll see pop up continuously across Microsoft 365, not just from a security and compliance perspective, but the fact that we integrate in across all of our services. And so now we take a look at the security and compliance in Microsoft Teams. We take a look at 5 pillars or principles that we like to focus on. And by no means are these exhaustive, but they're 5 areas we really like to focus on and highlight. And the first is one of the most important to us at Microsoft, and that's safeguarding your privacy by design. By integrating and baking these privacy features into your services, we can make sure the customer always comes first. Microsoft believes privacy is a fundamental human right. And again, it's critical to understand that because we bake this into all of our services. We do not use your customer data to serve you advertising or better Microsoft. Customer data is customer data. And then as we move down the line, you see things that we're going to talk about today and what's new and some of the exciting features we have coming. Meeting and video conferencing controls to not only help your IT, but help your meeting organizers be empowered to keep those meetings safe and inclusive. Those identity and account protection controls to make sure that you don't have unauthorized access into devices or accounts in your organization. The data protection against cybersecurity threats, again, having those integrated into your services. So whether a user is in Teams or Outlook or SharePoint or even OneDrive, they have those same protective services always going on. Last but certainly not least is Microsoft's industry-leading support for regulations and internal compliance controls. Microsoft supports over 90 regulations and internal compliance controls, and we are continuously working with customers and global organizations to make sure we're supporting these and helping you stay supported as a customer. So now let's transition to some of the more exciting things. What's new that's coming in security, compliance, and privacy across Microsoft Teams? So some of these features have recently rolled out, and you may not be familiar with them, or you may even be taking advantage of them. And then we're going to transition into some of the items that are on our roadmap and coming. So first, and one of the most important things are privacy and security controls for video conferencing. With the shift in remote work, we know that video conferencing and meetings have really taken off. And IT can only do so much. We do offer admin controls, which I'll talk about, but IT can only do so much. A lot of it comes with an education and empowering those end users to make sure that their meetings and chat and organization stay secure. So admin controls or policy are extremely important to foster those safe and inclusive meetings. So things like being able to create granular level controls for different meeting policies in different departments. For instance, your legal team is probably going to want to have different meeting conferencing standards than perhaps a marketing or HR department. And we allow you as the IT admin to be able to manage that. And now pivoting off some of the admin controls, we also want to be able to empower our meeting organizers to have some of those same IT admin controls to make sure we're having safe and inclusive meetings. So meeting organizers are able to actually manage the meeting lobby experience. So when end users and attendees are joining the meeting, they can be a little bit restrictive on perhaps who's able to bypass the lobby and who's able to actually join and be able to record or present. For instance, if I'm having an outside organization attend my meetings, I want to possibly make sure that they can't just bypass and join the meeting as we're prepping. And I also want to make sure that perhaps I'm the only one that can record. So again, IT has the ability to set some of those granular level controls, but in some of those cases when we want to have a little bit more open of an organization, we can allow those end users to be empowered to actually create some of those more granular level meeting controls based on the type of meeting that's going on. And pivoting off that, we have the actual meeting organizer or meeting attendee control. So we have items like hard mute. For instance, if we need to just have a complete hard mute on everyone in the meeting except for who the actual organizer and presenter is, we have that ability now to set that hard mute. It's especially helpful when you think of things like large meetings or presentations, especially in the education space. If a teacher or an educator is trying to give a lecture, we don't want disruption. So we want to be able to hard mute all those areas. We can also specify and control who can record and present content, right? So we can, with meeting roles, we can dedicate someone to be a meeting presenter or simply an attendee so they can't attempt to take over control and present or share out content. And again, when we talk about controlling meeting disruptions and actually just controlling the meeting, it's not just a hard mute, it's the ability to actually mute anyone that maybe came off of mute accidentally. With all the work from home and remote work, sometimes you might hear a microphone came off mute, you hear some kitchen clutter clanging around or some dogs barking. It's quickly and easily able for any meeting organizer actually, or a true meeting attendee to actually mute that individual and keep that meeting on track. So again, we have those admin level controls that help IT be confident that we're going to be able to have those safe and inclusive meetings, but then we actually open them up to end users and meeting organizers as well to make sure, again, that those meetings are safe, inclusive, and going off without a hitch. Now we transition over to keeping data secure in those meetings and chat and collaboration. We're going to quickly gloss over this slide, but the reason why we want to continually show this, and you'll see this across a lot of sessions, is because information protection is only as good as how far those enforcements go with the data. Data information protection controls have to be integrated across platforms and across services, and that's what you see with Microsoft Information Protection. It travels with that data or document wherever it goes, and you get those enforcements and protections wherever that data roams. And so more specific to Microsoft Teams, the first thing we'll talk about is sensitivity labels. Some of you may be familiar with sensitivity labels and being able to classify documents or possibly different areas of Microsoft to be able to say, hey, this is a highly confidential team. All of our documents that created need to have this highly confidential watermark or email tag applied to it. We've now integrated those sensitivity labels into Microsoft Teams. And so when you're creating a new team, as we'll take a look at later in the demo, you actually have the ability to create one of those or apply one of those sensitivity labels to that team, and those classifications will automatically apply to everyone down. And one of the last areas that you can really manage is limiting access from unmanaged devices to that team. So let's say my research and development area is working on a top secret project. We need to make sure that the only way that you can access this team is from a secure managed device. We can create that through that sensitivity label. So again, these sensitivity labels are applied to Teams, SharePoint, and Groups containers, and everything within that container level will receive that sensitivity label policy. Keeping on Microsoft Information Protection, we want to transition to data loss prevention, right? Keeping data protected and internal to your organization is critical, and it's also critical to be able to identify potential data leaks, right? And so we want to be able to have those automatic enforcements with data loss prevention within Teams chats. So again, we'll take a look at, from the end user perspective, the demo in a little bit. But if I say something that is a clear data leak, let's say I try and share a credit card number or a personal identification number, my organization wants to block that immediately, and we have the ability to do so. The other really cool thing about it, and we'll get to take a view of this, is we don't just block it, we actually educate the end user why it was blocked. And we know this is important because it will eliminate help desk calls or reaching out to help desk and understanding, hey, why was this blocked? We can actually educate end users on why it was blocked and how they can avoid these actions going forward. And again, this is taking advantage of a lot of the data loss prevention capabilities you've already been leveraging across Microsoft 365. So this is just another integration point in your collaboration space. The last area we're going to talk about as far as that safe and inclusive meetings and keeping information secure is Microsoft Communication Compliance. So this is a relatively new item when we have some great integration within Microsoft Teams that we also pivot off that idea of keeping data safe and secure, but we go a step further and also help keeping the workplace be healthy and inclusive and safe for all to be in. So communication compliance can take a look at sensitive data leaks, but we can also take a look at things like offensive language or harassment or perhaps custom words that my Contoso organization doesn't want to have be used within my organization. We can block those as well. So again, it's not just sensitive data from being leaked out. It's being able to really foster that inclusive workplace and say, again, offensive, threatening, harassing language really has no place in my organization or any organization around the world. And again, we're able to highlight and raise issues to our IT team or SecOps teams to highlight, possible users that are committing multiple violations, whether again, it's harassment or it's data leaks, so we can reach out to that employee and get to understand whether it's an education issue or whether we need to have a deep dive on how to prevent, again, data leaks from happening. So now we're going to transition into the demo. And again, we talked about a couple areas of meeting controls and data loss prevention. So we're going to take a look from the IT view, and then we're going to take a look at the end user. So again, we can see how empowering and how easy it is to use these controls for safe meetings and for data loss prevention. All right, now we're going to hop in to see some of these items in action that we talked about. So being able to have those safe and inclusive meetings and also make sure that your data is not getting outside the organization. So we talked about being able to create those granular level IT policies, and you see here in my Contoso demo tenant, I have quite a few different meeting policies created for my different departments. And if I quickly hop into my legal team and scroll down, you can see here that I have more granular and custom controls on things like content sharing and participants and guests than I may have in other teams. Same thing with live events. As we hop over, you'll see that I will have different live events created for internal and external type of live events. So the ability to easily create these in the admin center are great for IT, but we can also have these controls be available for our end users, which we'll take a look at in just a minute from the end user perspective. But what I want to switch over to now is the easy integration of those Microsoft 365 security and compliance features that we were talking about. So as I hop over here to a common area that many of you see in the Microsoft 365 Compliance Center, first thing we're actually going to take a look at, as we talked about sensitivity labels and information protection, is we'll hop into a data loss prevention policy that we already have created here. For instance, I'll go ahead and select this Contoso PII policy. As we hop in and edit this DLP policy, you can actually see as we skip ahead to the location that it applies, you'll see not only Exchange, SharePoint, and OneDrive, but you now have Teams chat and channel messages in there. So again, you don't have to go and create all new DLP policies. You can leverage your existing ones and simply just support Teams chat and channels. So we're going to hop over to communication compliance now. Again, same item here. As we go ahead and create communication compliance policies, I'll select one, for example, the Mark 9 policy is going to be one specifically for sensitive data or information, whereas we can also have, for example, my Contoso HR policy is created for offensive language or threatening or harassing behavior. And then the Contoso HR custom dictionary is going to prevent internal users from using words that we just don't feel are appropriate for our organization. And again, these are easily integrated, not just for Microsoft Teams. These are features and functionalities that go across the entire Microsoft ecosystem. Now what I want to do is actually switch to that end user view, because that's really where the power and the beauty of these features and functionalities arise, is when the end user is having that safety and that protection automatically working on their behalf. First thing we'll take a look at is some meeting controls. And so if I go and edit a meeting that Megan Bowen here had scheduled, we can quickly click on this meeting options up here in the top and see those advanced controls or meeting controls, the ability to specify who can bypass the lobby or who can present and record. So again, IT can set these, and then you have your meeting organizer empowered to create and kind of set these per who is perhaps attending the meeting or per standards or governance based on the organization. And now as we join a meeting, we'll hop here into a meeting that Megan Bowen is already in, we can take a look at some of those other in-meeting features like the hard mute or the ability to easily mute an attendee who, again, maybe left their microphone off mute as they went into the kitchen or some dogs barking. We don't want to disrupt the meeting, so we can quickly and easily mute them and keep it on track. Again, that hard mute is extremely critical in large lectures, whether it's an education space or a live event, to make sure that only the presenter talking is talking. And then lastly, again, in the recording space, we have the ability to pop up a disclaimer when recording starts and let everyone know that, hey, this meeting is being recorded. And the meeting organizer is also empowered to make sure that they can specify through meeting roles who is able to present and who is actually able to record some of this content. Now, the last area I want to hop over to from the end user view is probably one of the most important, and that's that data security and protection. So I'm going to hop into a chat here that Megan Bowen has with Alex Wilbur. And you see Alex shared out a document with us, and I'm going to let Alex know, hey, we should grab some lunch. And just go ahead and put it on my credit card here. But you'll see as I paste in the credit card number and what I want Alex to use, it's actually going to block that message because it is deemed critical data that should not be being shared within the organization, right? And so again, the really cool thing is we don't just block this and tell the user, hey, it's blocked. We actually give them this little info blurb as you click on here to understand why it was blocked. So if it is required for you to reach out to IT because you feel there maybe is a false positive, you can let them know. Otherwise, again, this is a great opportunity to educate your end users on what type of data is allowable or good to be sharing with other end users and what type of data is just not safe to be sharing within the organization. And similarly, with communication compliance, we won't show off a demo, but you're going to see the same experience here. If instead of sharing that credit card number, I used perhaps a word that we shouldn't be using within our organization or harassing or threatening language, we would get that same block and the end user would see that same blurb. And we'd go ahead and let the end user know that, hey, this type of language or behavior is not allowable within our organization. And if they need to, they can reach out to the organization lead and IT or help desk. But again, being able to not just block those messages and that data from accidentally being shared within the organization, but being able to educate and inform those end users on why that's not good behavior. Again, whether it's sharing internal secrets, sharing things like credit card numbers or personal identification information that harms the employee, or whether it's harming the organization with harassing or just a straight offensive behavior, all of that needs to be controlled by your organization to, again, make sure that we have a safe, secure, and inclusive workspace. So again, to kind of wrap it up, we were able to set those granular level controls from the IT perspective. We're able to integrate those features and functionalities across all of Microsoft 365. These are not just Microsoft Teams specific. So as data roams from Teams to Exchange to SharePoint, you have those same protections, those same features and functionalities. And then lastly, we have those end user empowered controls, whether it's meeting organization or whether we're in chats or channels, we have that data loss prevention and that communication compliance policy to make sure, again, we have that safe and inclusive workspace. So now let's go ahead and hop back into the session, and we're going to go ahead and have a quick customer case study, and then we're going to get into what's new in Microsoft Teams. And so now we got to see some of those really cool items in action and get to really see how they work from both the IT and end user side. I want to share a customer case study we did with Mercy Housing out of Denver, Colorado, who provides housing and assistance to a large range, one of the largest providers in the United States. And they took advantage of Microsoft Teams as we shifted to this remote work scenario to not only help empower their organization, but one of the great things that Gunnar mentioned, and you see the quote we have on the screen, is just around how Microsoft Teams helped them stay secure too. So they started integrating things like multi-factor authentication for people accessing the Teams app or other sensitive data. They're also using Microsoft Defender to be able to protect against those cybersecurity threats. so that they know that their employees are not only protected, but their employees don't have to worry about trying to take training every month on how to be proactive against phishing scams, et cetera. They're able to leverage that strength and intelligence of Microsoft 365 to keep them working, to keep them productive, to keep them collaborative without having to worry about, am I doing something wrong? So I highly encourage you to take a look at our customer case studies and more specifically Mercy Housing and how they're taking advantage of Microsoft Teams. They really are just a great organization doing great work within the United States. And again, they're an example of how this quick shift to remote work can be difficult, but how you can leverage some of the items of not just Microsoft Teams, but Microsoft 365 all up to help make this transition easier while keeping your company secure and compliant. But now I think a lot of folks might be really excited for what we're going to be sharing on what's coming for Microsoft Teams. So we're going to talk about a couple items that are actually going to be generally available as of Ignite, and then a couple items that you can definitely be on the lookout for as we head towards the end of this calendar year, and that may be heading into public preview. So the first thing I want to talk about is some super exciting compliance announcements that we had at Ignite. So some of these items are integrations, and so we're going to start with insider risk management. And so we know that as new cases get created for insider risk management, we have to kind of corral the stakeholders and get everyone involved. We want to make sure that we're using secure channels to collaborate and that no one from outside that stakeholder group is there. And that's what this native integration will do. So as soon as a new insider risk management case is spun up, we'll automatically create a private team and we'll add those relevant stakeholders in there so you can use that channel and that team to securely collaborate and coordinate on whatever's going on with that insider risk management case. And again, it's easily and automatically created for you. The right stakeholders were added. If for any reason you needed to add or remove stakeholders, you're able to do so. But again, it's just helping that automation process. The next area we want to talk about is advanced e-discovery support for live documents and links shared within Teams. So if a link or document was shared from an area like SharePoint or OneDrive, advanced e-discovery can automatically pull that in, collect it, review it, and support it along with other Teams conversations. So again, we know advanced e-discovery is used highly within the Microsoft 365 space, so we're integrating that into Microsoft Teams. Another area that's super exciting that we've made an announcement on is Microsoft Information Governance and Retention Policy supporting Microsoft Teams recordings. Teams recordings are a big thing right now. We know everyone's trying to record meetings to make sure that they're able to go back, share them out with folks that weren't able to attend. We want to make sure that we have those retention policies in place so no one can delete a team recording or pretend it didn't exist. And one of the important parts about those retention policies is, again, applying those wherever the recording goes. So back to that original Microsoft information protection slide and how important and critical it is to apply these type of data loss or retention policies wherever the recording goes. So again, this is a very exciting announcement to be able to share that rolling out in October, we will have retention policy support for Microsoft Teams meetings recording. And the last area, but certainly again, not least, is team-specific actions in Compliance Manager. So as part of Microsoft Ignite, we are announcing the general availability for Microsoft Compliance Manager. And as part of this, we will have some team-specific recommendations to, again, help your organization be secure and compliant while embracing that full open collaboration and really just helping your organization stay productive and collaborative without having to worry about any of those security or compliance risks. Now shifting to a little bit more on the developer side, but again, it's extremely exciting and important for folks to get to understand the graph APIs for Microsoft Teams. So a little while ago, we announced a public preview for one of the graph APIs for Teams data loss prevention and helping with Teams messages. Today, we're very excited to announce two graph APIs, one that will be going to general availability in the Teams DLP, and the graph API for Teams export that will be in public preview. So starting with the first one, the Graph API for Teams DLP, it enables developers to build applications that are able to listen to Teams messages in near real-time polling. And then you can actually apply DLP actions to these Teams messages. So again, opening it up to that collaborative ecosystem. We know that folks are going to be working with outside and third-party organizations. We want to be able to allow you to stay compliant within your organization, even if that means working with some third-party compliance groups. The other area is the Graph API for Teams export. And so what this is going to allow you to do is automate and integrate the archiving of Teams messages, which actually includes attachments, emojis, GIFs, or GIFs, whatever your pronunciation is, and user app mentions. So again, being able to export these out and include them in any sort of kind of third-party or compliant space. And so all up, these Microsoft Graph APIs for Teams DLP is helping your organization, again, stay secure, stay compliant across this incredibly, incredibly complex space. So definitely be on the lookout for the Teams export hitting public preview, and some more reading and detailed information you'll be able to find on that on the Microsoft Tech community. And one of the last things I'm very, very excited to share is announcing Customer Key in Microsoft Teams. So one of the most common questions we get, whether we're in the security or Teams or collaboration space, is how do we meet these compliance obligations within our organization without compromising on data security, right? It's one of the #1 questions we get. I want to remind everyone that Teams data and all Microsoft data is kept safe by encrypting it in transit and at rest in our Microsoft data centers. But we have this ability to use something called Microsoft Customer Key, which currently exists in some familiar services like SharePoint, Exchange Online. And what that does is Microsoft 365 offers us an additional layer of encryption at the app level, and we call that service encryption. And what Customer Key is built on this service encryption, which enables you as the customer to provide and control the encryption keys. So again, we are still encrypting that data in transit and at rest in our data centers, but you are now able to bring your own customer key and have that additional layer of management on there. And so what this has helped organizations and customers do is meet certain regulatory or compliance obligations in controlling those root keys. And again, many organizations are already taking advantage of customer key in specific areas of the organization, like Exchange Online and SharePoint. And so again, we are very excited to be announcing that this will be extended to support Microsoft Teams. So definitely be on the lookout in our blogs and Microsoft 365 tech community posts about more information on when Customer Key will be rolling out. All right, and in closing, I'm going to leave you with 3 areas. And we're starting with that taking advantage of Microsoft 365 in the way that we started the presentation. So being able to take advantage of those security and compliance features working throughout your ecosystem, working throughout not just Microsoft 365, but your Microsoft portfolio as a whole, and even into your line of business applications. So again, having that trust that the strength of intelligence in Microsoft 365 is proactively protecting your end users. So again, it's important to set those Microsoft 365 principles overall to flow throughout the integration and services that you have. Second area is educate and empower not just your meeting organizers, but all of your end users. If they don't know about the intelligence or the collaboration or even security features that exist in your organization, they won't be able to fully utilize them. So it's important to educate these meeting organizers and end users on how to take advantage of these features and functionalities and why they're important. So some of those meeting controls like the hard mute or controlling recording access, we find that when you're able to actually inform and educate these end users, they're much more likely to actually use them as designed and help you as IT not have to worry about what your end users are doing in these meetings. And lastly, be a champion of governance in your organization. Take advantage of those granular level policies and those rich controls that we offer IT to be able to create those different meetings or live events policies that we talked about earlier in the session. It's again likely that your legal department isn't going to want to have the same meeting policies as your HR or marketing. Same with live events. For instance, at Microsoft, our marketing live events policies need to be inclusive of external organizations joining, whereas our internal HR live events policies are much more focused on just having only internal attendees. So being able to champion governance in your organization, make sure that those policies and controls are applied throughout your organization to keep you secure, to keep you compliant, and taking advantage of that all-up Microsoft 365 protection. And lastly, some additional Ignite sessions that you want to maybe check out. I won't go through all of these, but the one I will mention that's very related to the session we just covered today is the Managing Security and Compliance in Microsoft Teams. We will be doing an IT Pro or Admin or SecOps deep dive on the features and functionalities that we talked about today. So we're going to take a view at it as the IT admin, configuring, creating these policies, and give you our opinion on some of the best practices and things you can take advantage to make sure that your organization is being secure and compliant across Microsoft Teams. So again, thank you so much for joining me for this year's Microsoft Ignite, and have a great day or night wherever you are joining us from. Thanks again.